embarrassment, possibly the loss of the speakership. But what do Democrats have to say? With me now, New York Democratic Congressman Steve Israel, the chair of the Democratic Congressional Caucus Committee, Campaign Committee, I should say. First of all, let's talk about what happened today. The Speaker added a balanced budget amendment vote down the road and some further commitments down the road. Does that appreciably change his bill? Does it make it worse? The bill really was a non-starter from your perspective all along.
What the Speaker did was political. Look, let's not be fooled by this balanced budget term. It is not a balanced budget. They want to balance the budget on the backs of middle-class Americans, but they want to continue to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on subsidies for big oil companies, on tax for the rich, and on corporate tax loopholes. They are not interested in balanced budgets. They are interested in one thing and one thing only: making the rich much, much richer and making the middle class much, much poorer. And that is why you get delay after delay after delay. And that is why, as the clock runs out, instead of meeting in the middle, they are lurching further and further to the extreme right wing.
Congressman, I know that those are, we've heard political talking points from both sides, but at this stage of emergency, the American people want to see some action. Now, the president said that there is rough agreement between the two parties, and likely the Democrats and Republicans in the Senate are going to have to engage in negotiations with Joe Biden and others. Where do you see this negotiation going? Are you willing, is the White House, do you think, willing to concede a shorter-term debt ceiling extension and deal with the two tranches that have already been pretty much agreed to? Where do you see it coming down?
Andrea, with all due respect, this is not a political talking point. We have made our concessions. We have made our compromises. We are prepared to vote on a bipartisan bill that cuts spending over $1 trillion. Not an easy thing for some of my Democratic colleagues to embrace, but we are willing to do it. We have been meeting. We have been negotiating. We have been collaborating. We have made some concessions. And every time we get close, it is the Republicans and the Tea Party Republicans who are running that entire caucus right now who say it's not enough. And so the clock is ticking. We can get this done if both sides come into the middle. The problem is, as exemplified by what is happening today, the Republicans continue to move further and further in the opposite direction.
And finally, Congressman, before I let you go, is there a chance that we're not going to see something by the end of the weekend, by Monday, that actually raises the ceiling? And if you're close enough to agreement, do you think the president should sign something that just extends it a couple of days while this gets worked out?
Look, I've never been in a situation where everybody agrees on what cannot happen, but one party refuses to agree on what can happen. And that's where we are now. Everybody says we cannot afford to default. We cannot afford to raise interest rates on credit cards, on mortgages, on car loans. We need a partner to negotiate with. I would have thought that with just a few days to go, today would have been the day that John Boehner and the Republicans said, okay, we'll meet you a few inches towards your direction. Instead, they have made another quantum leap in the opposite direction. I hope that good sense prevails and that they don't do the political thing, but they do the right thing by the American people.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Congressman Steve Israel from New York. And at this point, the debate has dragged on.